Good evening and welcome to Speaker Club Saturday night number 94. After travel tales last week, it's time to travel in the world within. In a world that we call as growing up over time, over age, and different aspects of how we look at aging in our life. When I'm talking of aging, I'm specifically referring to a number about the passage of the years of you in this world. Well, when I'm talking of growing up, it's a mindset. It's a mindset that we're talking of on how and what we do in the way we think and the way we respond and the way we live our lives in the world. That is where the entire difference will be in what we are going to navigate today. Because when I ask people, is there a difference between growing up and growing old? People often think it is the same. Well, the reality is growing up is a mindset. Growing old is a biological reference to the age and the time that you have been on this earth. What is it that you think growing up means? Akanksha?
I think it's more like getting a little bit matured and learning from whatever your past was and growing up with the experiences that you've gained over the years or changing your mindset based on that.
Interesting. I hear the words matured. I hear the word, the growth which is going to come, the change in mindset which is going to come, the lessons that you have learned. These are all wonderful words. I will be coming to each one of these as we progress in the session. Who's next? Pawan.
Growing up is learning and moving. Learning.
Okay. Thank you, Pawan. Sri Krishna, go ahead.
Growth in career.
Growing up is growth in career. Interesting. Okay, now let's Mohit, you're somewhere in midway. So what do you think is growing up mean?
For me personally, I think growing up is collection of different stories, of different experiences of myself and my friends and all the people around, so that I get a wider perspective, wider experiences, so that I'll feel more good. Like that is what I guess, so that I can share my experiences with others, I can engage them in any conversation. So that is what I feel growing up.
Interesting. Nice perspective, I must say. Now let's move the other side of the story. To the people who are over 25 or who are with the white hair, aged like me, beyond time, running over time, whatever you want to call it. What is it like to be young? What is it like to be young? Madhu?
Yeah, I feel like still I'm in 25 something somewhere, because the way I do the activities and even many people, even young people participate in any groups. I'm always first to interact or speak. That's the mindset I have it. And I feel the growing up means from past experience we have to learn, and we have to share that to the young generation, so that whatever we miss, at least they don't miss it. So yeah, so that for them it will help. They don't need to wait for 10 years to get that experience. So that's experience I think I would share.
Thank you, Madhu. I like the idea where you're talking of others not having to go through the pain or reinventing the wheel to learn the same lessons that you have learned, and maybe they can learn it from your experience. Wonderful. Dinesha?
Staying in present and enjoying each and every moment of life.
Crisp, cute, interesting. I like that, Dinesha. Sri Lakshmi?
Learning, I feel, always make us young. If you lose learning, then you become old.
You have hit the bullseye. Sri Lakshmi, I must tell you, you have hit the point which is going to be a large part of the session today. But thank you for sharing that. That's a wonderful perspective.
What is it like to be young? It happened so in 2018 that I was overweight by 85 kgs and I was feeling older like anything. So at the age of probably 26, I was feeling like I've crossed 40. And that was the turning point where I started doing exercise. And 2 to 3 years down the line, I reduced some 20 kgs from my body. And every day when I was coming home after workout to home, and the dopamine which comes, that happiness was like, now I'm younger, now I feel great. Because every day when you hit to the gym, or you go for a walk, or you run, you get this feel good hormone. And that hormone for me was the younger, I mean, feeling young, feeling energetic, and feeling confident. So it brought the best out of me. And someone in here feels again sedentic, sitting 10 hours for a job, writing emails, I think we should try going out running, and that will help you, get the best outcome from your efforts.
Interesting, interesting. Thank you, Akib. How am I pronouncing your name right? Should I call you Javed or Akib?
It's Akib Javed, yeah.
Akib. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Nice name. So yes, that brings me to the next point, where imagine this. Ram is working in a company and he's angry and unhappy always. Shoulders down and grumpy with every interaction that he has with everyone in this company. Without a hope about a bright future, he lives in a delusion always that life is all but this, and there's nothing left. Story number 2. Lakshmi has been out of work for a very, very long time. She sees her unfulfilled dream of teaching, is hopeful of reigniting that passion for teaching, approaches some of her contacts, fails in a few, and despite many a times the rejection coming through, she persists. She persists and finally gets into her dream job, adds so much joy to the workplace that she is, and looks forward to waking up every morning and going to live the dream that she always had. If I were to ask you, can you guess the age of Ram over here? Take a wild guess. You can just put it in chat or unmute and speak.
25.
Must be below 30.
Okay. And the age of Lakshmi? The first story was about Ram and the second story is about Lakshmi. Akib, go ahead.
Around 40.
I'm asking him to guess my age.
Interesting, interesting.
55.
The age doesn't matter.
It's not 30.
The age doesn't matter. It's the age of your mindset which matters. It's how grown up you are, how young you are in your mind that matters, and not what your actual age is. Here, Lakshmi's age is 91 and Ram's age is 22. And we are talking of someone living in a delusion at 22 and someone living a dream at 91. Who is young? Now, if I were to ask you, if someone didn't see you, someone didn't know you, someone can't hear you, and someone just read your story, how old would they think you are? Without the reference to any of the age number. Just ask yourself, how old would people think based on your interactions, your thinking, the way you live? How old would people think you would be? I don't want you to respond for that. I just want you to answer for yourself. The agenda for today's session is for me to share with you the disconnect which is there between aging and growing up. When we look at aging, when we look at growing old, we often have this one dimension idea of the number of our life, the age of our life. And the way we look at it is with only the energy in picture, which is we grow, or we are just born. And the way we increase our energy and the way we are peaking it and the way we are working in it, after a certain time, the energy goes down. And eventually the bulb diffuses. We look at often growing up and growing old with this one dimension image, but the reality is far from this. And when I've talked about the dimension which I'm talking of, which is about the mindset and the growing young mindset, which I'm talking of, it is there's no downfall unless you choose it to be. There is only one dimension of the upside. There's only one scale, one movement of the upside, wherein we are talking of dimensions like the energy that you have, the spirit with which you carry, the thinking that you have, and the learning that you constantly are engaged in. And when that dimension is what we're looking at, we are only looking at up and upwards. That's how we got to look at this. Is where I'm coming up for today, of growing old, growing young. Because at the birth, we are all in a certain state. We have a certain mindset, and where we are nourished and where we are growing. We feel that we are growing until a certain point in time in our age. It could be 20 for some, it could be 30 for some, it could be 40. But eventually we start seeing that the downfall starts to happen because we're looking at growing old as a number and the reflection of our age. For that not to happen, you have to look and put the energies on the different dimensions of growing young for it to last for a longer time. For it to keep going, look at the focus that you have on your learning, look at the focus that you have in the spirit that you carry, the thinking that you have, and how much enthusiasm you're bringing into life. That is where we are talking of growing young with no downfall. Because at the ground level, I've seen 20-year-olds and 60-year-youngs in the way they lead their lives, in the way people operate their lives, in the way they keep going day in and day out. I've seen that difference. 20-year-olds having lost the battle and 60-year-old fighting it like they have a lifetime to go ahead and still keeping on and on. So here I would request each one of you all to reflect on this thing of where were you? How were you or the people around you changing over the age that they have gone through? Look at yourself. If you're too young to reflect on your own life journey, look at the people that you're surrounded with. What do you see are the parameters that you're looking at, different dimensions of different elements that we're going to discuss now on how do you see people changing when they're growing old and when they're growing young? What are those dimensions? What are those elements which I'm going to discuss? Look at and reflect on the people on your own life, maybe how you were while you were, maybe if you're right now 30, 35, look at how you were while you were 18, 20, 22. Or if you're 15, 16 now, look at your family. Look at your siblings if they are elder and you have a reference point to someone whom you have seen aging in front of you. It could be your grandparents. Look at the difference. And that is where we're going to discuss the elements on what makes us grow young or old based on the choice that we carry. First and foremost, one of the basic and fundamental difference of how we are born as a child, where we are actually growing younger as time passes by, is the difference between hope and fear. If you're 30 and if you have been 15 at some point in time, reflect on how you did things. What was the power behind your actions? And what is the power behind your inactions today? At 15, there was hope. I don't say there was no fear. Fear is not, or the courage is not the absence of fear. It's just that the hope and the power to act is a bit more than what your fear is. I can already see some of you all smiling because of what you are, if you're already feeling you're growing old. Reflect on that one aspect where while you were in your growing young time, whatever definition, today if I'm 35, I still feel I'm growing young because I'm still on the up cycle of how I'm operating with hope and fear, hope and fear. Those are elements where what overrides what. While you're young, the hope will override fear, the courage will override fear. And as you grow old, the fear will override hope. The answer to how you can change this cycle lies in you. I don't want to give any inspirational example out there. I want you to reflect on what you did while you were growing young. What made you do and act while you were growing young? And it's very much applicable for even 15-year-olds. Let me just tell you, I'm not limiting here that, because I've seen even a 15 to 20-year-old also growing old with the choices that they're making. So reflect on it. Maybe for you, look at 5 years back when you were learning cycling or you were learning something new. Look at how the power of hope was helping you get on and get going. The cycle was like this. And now, when it's growing old, the cycle is stop. Enough. I can't. What will? How will? The questions are stopping you from that upscale which is required for you to live your life fully. With all the things that we are able, we still have the fear stopping us. We have been crippled while he's having his paralysis. We are still crippled in here. How young are you? Let's move to the next idea. One of the other fundamental difference between growing young and growing old is a role play that we have. Is a role play that we have in different buckets in our life, the roles that we play, the roles that we act, and who we are as a person. It is often said maturity is standing up to the role and behaving like the role is. No denying that. No denying that maturity and growing up also involves behaving and learning to behave in the way the situation demands. But the problem is we are acting 24/7 with little opportunity to be ourselves and the way we are as an individual and the way we want to be. Look at the fundamental difference between as you grow older, you become confined. You start playing the roles in confinement of what is expected for everything else except yourself. Except yourself. That is where the limitation is. There will always be instances where you are out of the box and yet you're confined to that role play that you are. Either as a parent or as a boss or as an employee, in whatever roles that you play, ask yourself, are you constrained to the roles that you're playing? And if you take off the masks which are there, the masks which you wear for the roles that you're playing, is there a place where you are yourself? Growing old is where these masks stick to us so hard that we don't know who the real person is, who you are truly. That's when you start dying or growing old as time passes by, when you do not know who you really are, or you do not have the opportunity to be just yourself. Look at what you are doing and you'll find an answer to whether you are confining to the roles only or you are having an opportunity for yourself. That's where the difference is. So when was the last time you were growing young and did what you wanted to, rather than just what was demanded from the role that you're playing? How many times has it been that you are somewhere and someone has to, you want to do something somewhere deep within, you want to do something, but you're holding back, thinking what will people think, or people will think I'm funny. How many times has it been that you have stopped yourself? That is growing old. But when you leave yourself to be where it is not required, where you can just be yourself, when you're letting yourself be, you are giving an opportunity for yourself to grow further. Anyone would like to ask anything over here or share anything, I'll be more than happy to listen. Vijaya, welcome.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Anything else, anyone? Okay, go ahead.
Last time I held myself from being young, right? That's the question. So it was 2 months back when I was attending a friend's marriage, and there was this rope wherein people go. The old lady was flying, right? I wanted to sit there, but I saw a lot of kids playing, and I am being a mature person, someone who has come just to attend a marriage. I had a flight in night, so I was like, no, I cannot do this. So I was just holding myself back and looking at those young faces, how they're going right and left. So still I could live the moments by looking into their eyes, how they are playing. So that is one aspect, one instance which has happened very recently, which where I have to hold myself.
Thank you, Akib, for sharing that. Anyone else would like to share where they have acted old? Dinisha, go ahead.
Sir, recently what happened, I was there in Mysore with my family. The water fountain, the music, that everything is started. The people were around 600 plus. My son, 4.5 years, wanted to dance. He pulled me. I went along with my son. I danced. Out of 600, my son and we both danced. That was, I was felt very happy. And today evening, we went to one of the hotel. There are so many couples. We ordered masala dosa and sevge bath. My wife started feeding to me masala dosa. I started feeding her the sev bath. We were ordering each one plate. The next two couples were looking at me. They were also having inside to do that, but was holding them. But we were freely enjoying that moment.
Interesting. Let me just share something which happened exactly 10 minutes before the session today. While we began the session, I was so engrossed in today's session's preparation because it's an inspiration series and there was a lot of questions, a lot of preparation which goes in, and I did not have my dinner. And Pragya was here. You do what you have to do. I'll do what I have to do. She was feeding me while I was working on the laptop, taking printout and whatever for the session which was happening. It tells of how you're not bound by the definitions of the world. And I'm saying not everywhere. I understand in a corporate setup, in front of your boss, in front of your employees, there will be a certain instances where a certain pattern of behavior is expected. But beyond that, when that pattern or limitation spreads to everything in your life, remember, you are growing old. Just do not let those patterns cripple you from doing what you truly want to. Vijaya.
Just before this session started, so I was in the ice cream shop. So my daughter is saying, we asked her in what you want, in cup or cone. So my daughter is saying, I want in cup. And my husband asked me, in cup or cone? Cup? Okay, no, I want cone. So he's saying that, and he also took in cup cone only. And my daughter is eating in cup. So he is saying only that here that कि बेबी तो कप में खा रही है, मम्मी पापा कोन में खा रहे हैं एक्चुअली में. तो मैंने तो then I told him that I will eat in cone only till my last breath because I like that thing. It's a fun to me. So
Thank you. Interesting. Making the choices that what you want to do, making the choices of what you want to do and putting yourself first is a wonderful way of telling that you're still growing young. Let's move to the next idea, wherein we are talking of dreams and reality. We already heard the story of Lakshmi, wherein we saw how even at the age of 67, her dreams were still open. While many of us, with the ideas that we have, with the things that we envision, the things that we aspire, we often come to terms with reality. That is where we start to die. That is where we start to grow older in the choice that we make. That's 97-year-old Charles. We lost him at the age of 98 in 2018. He was often called as the world's fittest pensioner because he was taking pension from the government of UK, I believe. I'm not sure which country, but he was termed as one of the fittest pensioner, and the way he was living for his dream. Even at the age of 95, he began running, setting world championship records, and trying to begin long jump after that at the age of 97. And although not making a world record, he was the champion in that year, like you saw it in the video. Now the question is, where are your dreams? Have you come to terms with reality of what is? Or are you still finding ways to make your dream become a reality? Please note, the session is not about making you feel bad of what all you're not doing, but just to give you an inspiration of what all you can do despite the number of the age that you have. So it's not about telling that I'm doing it or I'm not doing it, but the idea is looking at how wonderfully people at different age groups, irrespective of the number of their age, are able to accomplish and pursue what they're doing. And that's where I say growing young is about still having a dream for tomorrow. The day you submit yourself to the reality of the world, there's little that you have something to look up to. And that's where you start growing old. When you have something to look up to, there is always an opportunity to keep going up and up and up. After every achievement that you have, you are having something next as a next dream to do and look up to. That's what makes you keep growing young. And for that dream to come true, it's not like just sitting and keeping and doing whatever you are. A dream is accomplished by the most important thing which makes it possible is learning. If I were to ask you in the last 6 months, have you tried something new? Have you failed at something? Have you experimented something? Have you gone into a different dimension, or are you just doing what you are doing? It can be the scalability, it can be the scale at which you're operating, it can be the dimension of what you're doing, it could be something which is different from what you have been doing. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something for the first time? If you are in your 20s, you would surely have something. If you're in your 30s, the chances are a little lesser. If you're in your 40s, you are in the rut of doing what you are doing, playing it safe and just surviving so that the paycheck comes home. And that paycheck is not going to make you younger. It's going to help you survive. No denying the fact that it's not important. I'm the last one who will be saying that don't care about the paycheck. But the point is, with that paycheck, with that dream, with that next step, are you still going up to learn something? Because that is what will keep you young. That is what will keep you telling that you have a lot more to learn. Lot more to learn. Akuya, I'm sorry if I'm making you feel bad. There's so many questions which are coming, I know. For everyone, the question is, it's time to reflect rather than just to live your life in monotony. Just in that survival mode, which I call, because survival mode eventually, at whatever point in time, if you are in a survival mode doing what you are doing for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, eventually you are going to fall into that trap of growing old. Focus on what you are doing so that you don't get into that trap of growing older. For that, the very reason is that you have to have an answer. Where are you failing today? Because what you're doing, you're already doing. There's no upscale in that. Where are you failing today is a question that you need to ask yourself. Because only with doing something new, when you're failing at something new, you are giving yourself a chance to learn something better. Vijaya, go ahead.
मेरे साथ तो केस ही उल्टा है. In 20s, I was not thinking about any dream. I was not having any dream. Later on 20s ना, जैसे 30 लगा ना, so then I realized that I have to do something new, like that. A degree is ना, मतलब डिग्री अच्छी होती है लेना, but डिग्री से और इन चीजों से कुछ नहीं होता है. When you are having self motivation, self confidence, and you want to do something, so उस समय आप स्टार्ट कर लेते हो. तो मेरा तो जो स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट है वो 30s है. एक 4 years बिफोर जब मेरी डॉटर हुई थी, मेरा राइट लेग, आई वॉज नॉट एबल टू वॉक प्रॉपरली उस समय, नॉट इन हाफ एन किलोमीटर. नाउ दिस 2021 आई स्टार्टेड वॉकिंग अगेन आफ्टर 3 years. वॉक करना शुरू किया, हाफ किलोमीटर, 1 kilometer, 2, 3, 5, 10. So I can move up to 15 kilometers now, walk or run. And I started doing marathons, and so it's like feeling of what a self. क्या बोलेंगे उसको? हिंदी भी नहीं आ रही, इंग्लिश भी नहीं आ रही, but it's like a self confidence. मतलब अंदर से ऐसा होता है कि yes, I am getting something, and it's for society. So many people are messaging me that, oh, how you started this. So it's like yes, I am doing something for me also. And by seeing me, others are also doing. है ना? So ये मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि मेरा ड्रीम ही ये हो गया है अभी अब कि मुझे नई चीजें सीखना है.
Interesting perspective, Vijaya. I must tell, this is a classic case where you aren't over until you're over. If you're feeling bad that you have not started something, it doesn't mean that it's over. It only tells you that there is something for you to work on, and you are growing young if you're able to make that choice to what you want to do. Despite knowing that this is how it is, if you're not able to make a choice to change that, you are growing older. That choice tells you whether you're growing older or are you growing younger. Keep checking your barometer of what is the new thing that you're doing. That is where you'll be defining how young you are or how old you are. This year at the start, I'd taken up this idea of going to Instagram and content creation, all that stuff. 2 years back, I began with Speak Up Club. 16 years back, I began with the Living Life idea. There are different things at different points in time. You have to keep pushing yourself into something new, something extending. It may not be always something which is outrightly different, but in the things that you're doing also, look at how you can change the patterns, scale up, scale down, get deeper, whatever it is. It has to change. And the more you're learning, the more you are growing younger. And there's a scientific study also behind this. There was a study which was done about how a 2-year-old who was tested, not 2-year, 5-year-old, there was a study done on 5-year-olds to check on how innovatively are they able to think and come up with solutions for something. And guess what the number came of how innovative they were. At the age of 5, 98%. They did the same test after 5 years on the same people. The results dropped down to 30%. And as they scaled further, at the age of 15, when they did the same test on the same kids, the number went down to 12. And at 20, it went down, sorry, for the adults in general, the ability to think out of what is visible and thinking out of the box and doing something creative and finding innovative solutions, because they are not learning, it came down to 2%. That is where we're talking of the power of how creative we are, how much are we able to think and learn and constantly engage ourselves in new territories. It keeps our mind elastic. It is said after the age of 45, if you're not learning something new, your body and the mechanism in which the mind operates, the body starts to reallocate. If you're not learning anything new, it starts to reallocate this power that we have to other organs in our body. And that's where it starts to get depleted. And that's where we lose and become older. The other choice is keep learning new, keep learning, keep trying, keep experimenting. The more you are into that, you will see that you are growing younger. With that, let me move to the next idea. One idea which I always felt is close to my heart when it comes to aging, and I strongly believe in it. The idea is that people say people laugh less often as they grow old. But the reality is the people who laugh less often are growing old. The connection is not to older becoming less lively or less laughter. The connection is rather this of how less you laugh or less you smile or less you are lively, the earlier you become older. The very idea is that you have to define how much you are willing to take yourself lightly. Are you too serious about yourself, your life, and everything that is happening around you? If you're too engaged and engrossed in everything that is happening and thinking that you all have it under control, are in charge, that's where you're losing it out. Because it's not about how much you are in charge of. It's how much you're able to experience whatever you're doing. That's where the power is. That's where aging young will be making it and letting go of control of what you're doing and how you're doing. It's letting it be. That's where the superpower lies, in letting things happen and seeing how you want to picture yourself in that story. Because if the more you think you want to be in charge, you want to be in control, you're tightening the control and you're tightening life, where you feel you are in charge, but you are losing out on your resources, you and your resources, to being in charge. We had this session on LOL, which is a wonderful idea, where we talked about how it is important to lighten everything that you are taking up in the way you're dealing with life. That forms the base to not thinking life to be too serious. You have to have your lighter moments. You have to have and let go and not feel that you have to have everything sorted out to be in charge of life. You have to have and be in the flow. That is what makes it more intriguing and exciting. Any questions? Anyone would like to add anything over here? I'm more than happy to listen before we move to the last point, and then we'll close for today. Uma ma'am.
Joined late, so I just got some idea.
Go ahead.
I would like to, just 2 days back, I learned how to make a certificate on Canva. So I felt so nice. I was seeing so many of my co-trainers giving certificates to the students. Then I asked somebody to help me, and one of the students helped me, and I was happy to make the certificate. So, like you said, when you keep learning something new, there is some enthusiasm in life. When you learn something new, you feel good. No, that is one thing which we always have to do, and you always feel young when you learn something.
I'd asked you, how often have you stopped yourself at the age of 25, 30, 35 from doing things which you are going to laugh about, thinking of the role that you're playing and what you are doing? Look at how often we are stopping ourselves from living it the way we want to. I'm not saying you have to do all this. All I'm saying is that if you feel there's a inner voice that calls in you to do things, and if you're not doing it, you are growing old. You have to let go of the people's opinion of what all the world will think and just do what you believe in, whether it's your dreams, whether it's the things that you love to do, whether it's your experiences. Last and most important, as a kid, if you have seen how curious we are in the things that we do. When is the last time you saw something, observed something, challenged something like a kid? Because once we fall in the monotony of doing in what we are doing on a day-to-day basis, there's a very high likelihood that you will stop becoming curious. Look at your kids or the kids around you, yours or not otherwise. Look at how many questions they ask. It's because we always feel there's so much that we don't know. There's so much that is to know. There's so much that I don't understand. Not that the adults, the ones who are growing old, don't know that they don't understand. They've just stopped asking. That becomes a fundamental difference between being curious and being fascinated by the most simple things. Look at how you are operating and seeing and making a choice of how you want to move ahead with life. That's what will make the difference when it comes to growing old or growing young. So these are a few of the parameters that I wanted to share about how we are operating and how the mindset of keeping on growing, that is growing young, makes it different and makes the entire journey, rather than just waiting for retirement or a certain point in time in the future, or what you're doing right now in the survival mode. Rather than waiting for it to happen at some point in time, you are living it on a daily basis in the now moment. In whatever choices that you're making, you are doing it while you are moving forward in the age that is going to grow without your choice. The age won't stop, but how you are choosing to grow with that is going to define how you are going to live your life. Open to questions. Anyone would like to discuss, share, ask, more than happy. Akim.
So I joined a little late. I was 20 minutes late, I believe.
Yep.
But when it comes to growing old, and it's a part of longevity, increasing our age. And that is where I read this book on Ikigai, which is a Japanese book, which talks on people who lived in Okinawa Islands of Japan. And for them, it is, there are 2-3 things which play a pivotal role in their longevity. The first one was having an Ikigai, a purpose to live, why someone wants to live for their life. Second one was that they were very much social. So whatever things that they do on daily basis, it has a society, that kind of aspect. They meet people just because of it's an island. People don't get all the resources, so they have to share with each other. Every evening they'll have certain group concert or some small festival where they coordinate and learn, get together kind of thing happens every day. And third one, which is very important, is the diet. So their diet is totally different from what we eat. So each and every plate that they have on daily basis, it will have minimum 20 different kind of foods. And there's a principle which says that your plate should have a rainbow. Things starting from red color to yellow to green to blue. So it is in their food as well. They don't eat more than 80% of their urge. So suppose I'm feeling hungry for 2 plates of biryani, I'll end up at 1.5. So these were 2 to 3 points which I could recollect from the book Ikigai, but I believe that we all should stick to 2-3 points. This will definitely help us grow us younger.
Thank you, Akib. Those are wonderful pointers. It's a wonderful book, Ikigai. If someone hasn't still read it, it's a must read. It's a wonderful guide on not just like growing young, but also about how you can build your passion and work around finding the place which will keep you in the flow for life. So wonderful book, must read. Thank you, Akib, for sharing that. Anyone else would like to share anything? Uma, Madhu, Sri Krishna, Kirti.
Hi, I'm so sorry I was in and out the session. I do want to add one the psychology aspect to what you've mentioned. Very beautiful session, Rahul. Really nice anecdotes and really nice videos. Makes so much sense. From psychology point of view, there's a term which is neuroelasticity, which talks about that, like we have cells in our bodies, we have neurons in our brain. So these neurons, they are not something which cannot be changed. We usually think as we grow old, as we develop, they become static or rigid, but that's only a myth. We can always unlearn and relearn things. So neuroelasticity talks about how we can grow neurons, how we can grow new neural pathways if we practice something which is new. Like Umama mentioned that she learned about Canva. If she, practices it 5-10 times, I'm sure she can even offer you help, So it becomes, the neural pathway becomes stronger in our mind. So yes, that is true. And it's scientifically also proven that if we practice something new, if we adapt something new, it keeps us young and open to new challenges. And then it also invites greater adversity quotient, our resilience grows, and overall, of course, the happiness quotient and emotional intelligence, everything comes into place. So yes, I just wanted to add that little bit.
Thank you. That's our professional in the club, wherein she brings in the science side of it so that we can get over just the philosophy that I keep saying. Anyone else would like to share before I come to a close for today's session? Madhu, go ahead.
Yeah. Generally, whenever we play with kids, we feel, at that moment after playing, we feel like we are like, more energized and more relaxed and all those things. And we feel like, I have to do this, more often. We feel that, such kind of thing we feel. And whenever we are with the close friends, we'll dance, like anything, or like, with how we are playing at home, same. But same thing when it comes to any corporate offices or any outside, like, in Hyderabad, we have a Ganesh Nimajjan or whatever time, or Holi in office in a corporate place. We feel like, very, like shy, and we'll put ourselves back, we want to hide ourselves. But, that actually in my mind, I feel like, that small barrier, if you barrier, just if you come out and we try to attempt something, especially those enjoying moments, definitely like we feel at least we are younger. And one more thing, learning always, every day learning also will make us feel like younger, even though if we are a 90 year, as we have seen in the videos. Definitely, that's also very valuable thing. We learn a lot of things today, and hope we are going to use this.
Thank you, Madhu, for this wonderful summary of the things that and your experience about how fun and learning can make the entire difference in the way we are doing things. So with that, I have written a few lines about the difference between what growing old and growing young is. The lines go like this. As you wish, as you age, I wish you're growing young. The young talk dreams, the old talk losses. The young talk learning, the old talk the known. The young talk what can be, the old talk what is. The young talk possibilities, the old talk reality. The young seek to know, the old assume. The young play, the old work. The young have hope, the old live a lost battle. The young talk starts, the old talk finishes. The young make experiences, the old talk nostalgia. Growing old isn't a choice, but how you grow is a choice. With that, we come to an end for today's session, and let me close the usual way. Saturday nights have never been this beautiful for the last 94 Saturday nights now. It's been an honor to be sharing our perspectives, listening to your perspectives, and gaining new perspectives. Thanks for the love that you keep coming back every Saturday night and adding life to our lives and to every member of this community. Thank you. Have a good night. See you all next Saturday night, 9 p.m. again.